rice pudding is an easy and delicious gluten-free dessert. Although rice pudding exists in most Latin American countries as well as a lot of other cultures, I'm going to show you the Argentine version. In this pot, I have 1 liter of milk, 100 grams, which would be 4 cups plus about 1/3 of a cup if you're measuring in terms of volume. And to that, I'm going to add some flavoring. I'm going to add 1 small cinnamon stick, and I'm going to add some lemon as well. However, I'm not going to add the little shreds of zest like I normally do. You could do that, but what a lot of the Argentines do is they add strips of peel. So here with this lemon, I'm going to take a vegetable peeler and I'm going to literally just take strips off of the lemon. I'm doing that instead of adding zest so that at the end, just like with the cinnamon stick, I can take it out of the rice pudding and it's not going to affect the texture. Honestly, if you don't have a cinnamon stick and you just want to add ground cinnamon, or if you don't feel comfortable adding strips and you just want to add little bits of zest, I think it'll be fine. But like I said, this is the traditional Argentine way. If you've never done this before, I think the easiest way is to go to one end of the lemon with your peeler, take your thumb on one end, thumb and finger on the other. What you're going to do is you are going to apply pressure to both ends while dragging the peeler along the surface of the lemon. So I will start here. Like I said, I'm going to apply pressure as I pull along the lemon like that. And it fell, of course. So here is the lemon peel. You can see on the back side it has almost no white. That's what you want because remember the white part is bitter. I'm going to add 2 strips of lemon peel. So like I said, go to the top, apply pressure to both sides. Whoops. Let's try again. There we go. Now I'm having trouble. Of course. Even chefs have trouble from time to time. There we go. Strip. So like I said, to do this, just take your peeler and drag it along the surface of the lemon while dragging it across. I'm only going to add 2 strips because I think 3 is too much. So I added 2 strips already. I'm going to turn up the heat on the milk. I'm going to turn it up to medium high just so I can bring it to a boil. And then I'm going to add the rice. Here I have 150 grams of long grain rice. I just got a big economy sized bag. This is not any special type of rice. In terms of measure of volume, on the package it says 45 grams is equal to a 1/4 cup. So then 150 grams should be 3/4 of a cup. I measured it out using volume on my own and I got the same thing, 3/4 of a cup, so that's what I would use. Off to the side here I have 150 grams of sugar, or as I measure it, 1 cup, but I'm not going to add that right away. What the Argentines do is they wait until the end to add the sugar because they don't want to have the caramelized flavor of having the sugar in the milk and in the heat for a long period of time. So I'm going to add that towards the end. But like I said, once this comes to a boil, I'm going to add the rice, and then I'm going to turn down the rice to a simmer, gas mark 2 out of 6, the second lowest setting. And I'm going to cook it for a while, probably 30 to 40 minutes. And I'm going to stir They say in Argentina, cada tanto, every once in a while, probably once every 1 to 2 minutes, just so it doesn't stick. I know that's kind of a bit of time, but if you cook it a long time, the rice will get soft, everything will have time to reduce down, and then when it's almost ready, I'm going to add the sugar and cook it probably 5 more minutes. So like I said, that way the sugar won't have a caramelized flavor, it will just be very bright and light. It's been a few minutes. I stirred maybe 2 or 3 times, and as you can see, the milk is starting to boil. So what I'm going to do before it starts to jump out of the pan or out of the pot is I'm going to add the rice. Like I said, 150 grams. And those 150 grams, I would say, is probably 3/4 of a cup. I'm going to stir, and I'll turn it down to simmer. Gas mark 2 out of 6. And I'm just going to let it go. Like I said, this is the Argentine version of rice pudding. I have a friend whose parents are from Acapulco, Mexico, and if I'm not mistaken, in her family recipe, and it seems like a lot of the other Mexican recipes I've seen online, they use sweet condensed milk, evaporated milk, maybe some whole milk, cream, I'm not sure exactly, but I do know I've seen a lot of Mexican recipes with sweet condensed milk and evaporated milk. That's another way of doing it. Definitely it's going to have more of a caramelized canned milk taste than I think this would, but that's just another way of doing it. It's been 15 minutes since I added the rice, and I wanted to show you how much thicker it looks. Now when I stir it, you can see the rice, you can see the cinnamon stick, the lemon peel. The milk has reduced by quite a bit. You definitely want to keep stirring once every 1 to 2 minutes because, especially at this point, it can form a skin. You probably saw the skin a little bit. Here, if I stop for maybe 30 seconds, you'll see it starting to form. This is definitely starting to come together. Even though I'm using 1,000 grams, 1 liter of milk, some of the Argentine recipes call for 800 grams of milk and 200 grams of cream. But honestly, I think the starch from the rice is enough to make it creamy. See here, the skin's forming. I'm not sure if you can see that. So, like I said, you just want to stir that to keep it from getting too thick. I think I'm probably going to simmer this for 30 minutes total, so this would be halfway. The rice has now been cooking for 30 minutes, and as you can see, it has thickened up quite a bit. See if you can see that. I know there's steam coming off. This is delicious. I tasted it, and it's actually pretty good on its own. I added a little bit more lemon peel. I think maybe the strips were a bit smaller this time than last time, but that is okay. Now, like I said earlier, I'm going to add my sugar, 150 grams. I'm going to stir that in and probably cook another 5 minutes, I would say. One thing I did want to add is that after the 15-minute mark, well, after the 20-minute mark probably, I was stirring constantly because I didn't want it to burn on the bottom. So that's something to take into consideration because this rice is very starchy, and the starch, if it gets on the bottom with the heat, it will burn. I've noticed that the recipes for rice pudding in English, a lot of them call for rice that's already cooked. It will cut down on the cooking time. Also, a lot of people rinse their rice before cooking it, and if you do that, you'd have to probably add cream to get it to be nice and thick like this. So even though standing over the stove and stirring for 35 minutes is a bit of quilombo, and rinsing your rice before cooking it might be what you're used to doing, I think this recipe works best with unwashed, uncooked rice. Like I said, I'm using just regular long grain rice, nothing really special. But I heard that Amborio rice is good. In Argentina, they talk about doble Carolina, and I'm not really sure what that is. I tried looking for double Caroline rice at my local grocery store, but I could not find doble Carolina. So there definitely are types of rice that are probably better suited to this than others, but honestly, I feel like why buy a special expensive type of rice to make this classic dish that's supposed to be easy and cheap. And you know, honestly, I'm gonna taste this because it is starting to burn. I think it's fine. Look at how thick it is. And I'll give it 2 more minutes while stirring. You could eat this warm. It is really good warm, but most people in Argentina, they eat it cold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off the heat, and then I'm going to keep stirring for another minute or two just so that it doesn't burn on the bottom. And then I'm going to put it in the refrigerator. The rice pudding cooked for a total of 35 minutes once I added the rice. And I turned off the heat maybe, I don't know, 2 minutes ago. And now I've just been stirring because, like I said, I didn't want it to burn on the bottom. You can see that it's already starting to thicken up as it's cooling, and it's going to do that even more so. The rice pudding has now been cooling for 20 minutes, and as you can see, it looks a lot different. It's formed a bit of a skin, but you can break that pretty easily. It's kind of a light brown color, just barely. But look at how thick it is. Very, very thick, a lot thicker than it was. You can see there's still a little bit of steam coming off. I am going to put this in the refrigerator now. Well, actually, I'm going to take it out of this pot. Then I'm going to put it in this glass bowl. I'm going to let it cool off a little bit more, and then I'm going to put it into the refrigerator. You do not want to put a hot pot into the refrigerator. I know earlier I talked about putting the rice pudding into little bowls so that it cools off faster. You definitely could do that, but what the Argentines do is they like to leave the cinnamon stick and lemon peel in the rice pudding while it cools off so that it continues to flavor everything. But before I do that, I just wanted to give you a close-up look at this beautiful rice pudding. I tried it, it's delicious. There's still a little bit of steam coming off, but it's incredible. So like I said, I'm just going to transfer this to here and let it continue cooling off. And there's a cinnamon stick. Like I said, I'm going to leave that in there so that it can continue to flavor the rice pudding as it cools. The rice pudding is now ready to serve. It's been chilling in the refrigerator for 6 hours and it's completely and totally cold. I covered it with some plastic wrap, and as you can see, there is some condensation. Before I serve it, I want to show you what it looks like. Here's what it looks like in the big bowl. You can see it's very, very thick now. Let's see if I can show you it. There's a little bit of separation, but that's fine. You can see very, very thick. Extremely thick now. It's beautiful. I'm going to serve this. This honestly is wonderful on its own. I don't think it needs anything, if you want my honest opinion. But what's also very common in Argentina is to serve it with dulce de leche, which is a type of milk caramel if you're not familiar with it, and or whipped cream. And in Argentina, anything mixto means that it has both dulce de leche, and whipped cream. So you could have flan mixto, budín de pan, bread pudding mixto, or in this case, arroz con leche, rice with milk, rice pudding mixto. Another thing that's very common is to sprinkle the top with a little bit of cinnamon. I think I'm going to do that. Honestly, I think it has enough cinnamon, but like I said, I want to show you the traditional Argentine way, so I'm going to mound it in the middle there. And also here in the big bowl, you can see the bit of lemon rind, and the cinnamon stick is still in there. So it's just been adding more flavor over time. So there, just a little bit of cinnamon on top. Now I'm going to add the dulce de leche. And yes, I did make this homemade, and yes, I will be doing a video. You can buy it, but I'm going to do a video at some point. I will do this here on this side. And now for some freshly made whipped cream. I'm going to post a video on how to make a small amount of whipped cream, because sometimes you just want a little bit. Make it with an immersion blender. If that video goes up after this one, then I will put a link in the description box for sure. But here is the Argentine style rice pudding arroz con leche. Mixto, because it has the whipped cream and the dulce de leche. So I am excited. This is fantastically delicious. Honestly, I have been putting off making Argentine rice pudding for a while because I thought, how could something so simple and something made out of rice actually be a good dessert? Well, let me just say that the first spoonful of Argentine arroz con leche that passed through my lips changed my mind. This rice pudding was literally unbelievable. Combined with the dulce de leche and whipped cream, it was indescribably delicious. The time that I filmed this rice pudding recipe was only the second time that I had ever made it. The first time, it was so good warm that I ate it all and didn't put any into the refrigerator. But this time I said, you know what? I'll take the Argentine recommendation and I will put it into the refrigerator and I'll see how it tastes once it's cold. And like I said, from the very first spoonful that had the rice pudding and a bit of dulce de leche and a bit of whipped cream, my life was changed. In only 2 weeks, I made this a total of 5 times, and I'm not ashamed to say that. And to be honest, I'm not exactly sure why I just could not get enough of it. I think it's because the bit of lemon and the cinnamon, especially from the cinnamon stick, come together in a way that is unlike anything else I've ever had in my entire life. I think it has something to do with the texture as well. It's very creamy in a way that ice cream isn't creamy. And honestly, I think the fact that there isn't any cream in this rice pudding recipe and it's really thick because of the whole milk and the starch from the rice lets the flavor of the lemon and the cinnamon come through a bit more because your tongue isn't coated with fat from the cream. Honestly, I'm not really sure why this is so good, but this is literally one of the best things that I have ever eaten in my entire life. Although Argentines always recommend chilling the rice pudding with the cinnamon stick and the lemon or orange peel in order to continue flavoring it, I wanted to see for myself. Just to see for myself, one batch I split up into individual bowls and then put them into the refrigerator so that they cooled down faster. Although they did cool down faster than when you put a large batch into the refrigerator, I could tell a slight difference in that it was slightly less aromatic and slightly less flavorful. So the Argentines are right. You want to put the entire batch in a large bowl in the refrigerator with the cinnamon stick and with the lemon or orange peel. However, I also wanted to mention another possible variation. You could add some chocolate. In one bowl, or about a third of this rice pudding recipe, I would add about 15 grams, 1 tablespoon of semi-sweet chocolate pieces. If the pudding has cooled down, all you have to do is put some chocolate chips into a bowl, some rice pudding on top, and then put it in the microwave for about 30 seconds, maybe a minute max, and stir. That's an easy way to make chocolate rice pudding. Although you could eat this rice pudding plain, mixto, or with chocolate, I think it's best mixto because the combination of textures and flavors is just perfect. Although this Argentine rice pudding recipe does require a bit of stirring, I think it's actually really easy. The hardest part is cutting the strip of lemon or orange peel. It's a lot easier to remove a strip of lemon or orange peel if you hold the fruit on the counter. I had to hold it in the air in order to get it on film, but just so you know, it's easier to do if it's on the counter. I know I might seem kind of crazy, but I am crazy for this arroz con leche recipe. Argentine arroz con leche is literally one of the simplest yet one of the most delicious things ever. If you've never tried any of my recipes before, please try this one. This one will literally change your life. I can guarantee you it will become your new favorite recipe. Just don't try to get addicted. And yes, I am making it again this weekend, at least once. So if you make this, definitely let me know. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.